الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us from the Saaleheen, and He makes us of those who hear and follow in the best possible way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala adorns us with the best of akhlaq, internally, externally. The author, he says, rahimahullah, Bab as-Subr. Imam al-Nawawi in Riyadh as-Saaleheen, the chapter of Sabr. And yesterday we looked at what Sabr is, the types of Sabr, and some of the other things that we had from benefits from Shaykh Muhammad al-Uthaymeen. The author himself begins the chapter with 6 ayat. Although at the end of it he says, وَالْآيَاتْ فِي الْأَمْرِ الصَّبْرِ وَبَيَانْ فَضْلِهِ كَثِيرَةٌ مَعْرُوفَةٌ. These are just 6, but there are many ayat which talk about the virtues of sabr and encourage it, endorse it. And as we have said yesterday, in actual fact, it's not just one of those things that a person has from akhlaq. It's not just one of those things that a person can do as an act of worship, but it's also connected to a person's iman. The author gives us an ayah from Surah Al-Imran, the last ayah, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu. And from this, the Shaykh says, Uthaymeen rahimahullah, is proof to say that whatever, this is a general principle that is very useful. Whenever you see Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, there are a number of benefits. Number one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing you. This is only for the people of Iman. There are other ayat, Ya ayyuhan nas. But here, this is specific for those people who have submitted. Then after that, anything after Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu is part of Iman, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, oh, you who believe, whatever's going to come next is part of your belief. And then the third benefit is, after Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, there is always going to be a command or a prohibition. There will never be Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu and then something which is just idle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give you a command or a prohibition after that. Fourth benefit, after Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, there is a way for you now to increase in your iman. And if you were to abandon that, it will be a drop in your iman. اصبروا وصابروا ورابطوا واتقوا الله لعلكم تفلحون. Here the command is to be patient, isbiru. But then we have sabiru, endure even more. So be patient, and then be even more patient. And then we have rabitu. Rabitu meaning follow up good deeds after good deeds. So with this, the Shaykh said here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding the bare minimum of patience, and as we have said yesterday, and that's why the definitions are important and useful, isbiru wa sabiru, the bare minimum, and then get closer with the different levels of sabr. Wa rabitu, follow good deeds after good deeds. Wattaqu Allah la'allakum tuflihun. From this, the Shaykh has said here, all of these characteristics, iman, sabr, musabara, and ribat, all of these end with لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. These are the 4 ingredients for a person to be successful. But also, the Shaykh then says, from this the ulama have said, now this is an issue of debate between the ulama, but this is a benefit that we can derive from it, where the Shaykh has said, in this we learn that sabr upon obedience is better than sabr upon sin. The majority of the ulama have said sabr upon sin is better. Meaning, if you are between doing something and being patient on that, or staying away from something and being patient on that, the majority of the ulama have said staying away from sin is better than you being obedient and being steadfast on that. Whereas Shaykh al-Islam and others from the ulama have said no, being patient upon obedience is better than being patient upon disobedience, because of the fact it will lead to falah, and it will lead to, even if you have fallen and had acts of disobedience, those will be expiated by the acts of obedience. What is falah? The Shaykh says there are 2 things. Meaning, how do you measure success? What is success? لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us to be patient so that you are successful. Uthaymeen rahimahullah says 2 things. حصول المطلوب and نجاة من المحبوب. Al-falah and success is when a person has attained something which is noteworthy. Something that he is prized, something which is the objective, something that he really wants for himself, right? But it's not just that, because you could attain that but then still have some difficulty with it. So then he says, Najah min al-mahrub. The person is then saved from anything which could be harmful, could be frightful, could be detrimental. This is falah. So from this, the Shaykh has said here, from these 4 characteristics, Iman, Sabr, Musabar and Ribat, the person will then attain these 2 characteristics, which is the end result, success. What is success? To attain what it is that beyond what you can imagine really, if you think about it. But then you will also be saved from those things which are detrimental. And again, that is beyond what you can imagine. May Allah protect us from the fire. Then the Shaykh gives us an ayah from Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 155. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ with the shadda, which basically means you will definitely be tested. بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. This is the point. I mean, if you go back to the ayah, if you go back to the tafsir of the ayah, there are many benefits, but for the sake of keeping it short, وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ, this is the point. And this is why the author has brought this. And in this ayah, actually, Uthaymeen rahimahullah says, we have khawf, naqs min al-amwal wal anfus and thamarat. There are many examples of how you will be tested. That's what we learn from this ayah. Some of these will be physical, some of these will be, if we can use the word metaphorical, even though whether there's majaz in the Quran or not is up for debate between the ulama, but you get the idea. Sometimes you'll be tested in your wealth directly and indirect. Probably indirectly is probably the best word. All of these, Uthaymeen says, creates different reactions from different people. Hence the ayah ends with وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. Give a glad tidings to the people who are patient. Now, as we said yesterday, there are a number of hadith, and this is, I think, one of the biggest chapters where we've got nearly 30 hadith in this chapter. If you look at the other chapters, 5, 6 hadith. Even in the ayat that he has selected ayat which talk about the importance of patience, but different rewards and different perspectives. So the first one is very different. لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. This one, وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. Give them a bashara, give them a glad tidings. Glad tidings of what? Now here, again, very important when it comes to the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sometimes He just tells us, this thing is beloved to Him. Or this thing is disliked to Him. Do this, you will get rewarded. Do that, you will get punished. What is the reward? What is the punishment? Sometimes it has been left open. And you not knowing is the maslahah. You not knowing is the benefit. So now here, وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. Give glad tidings. Just give them good news. That's it. What's the good news? You will be compensated far beyond what you can imagine. In Surah Az-Zumar, which is the same sort of meaning, إِنَّمَا يُوَفَّى الصَّابِرُونَ. Surely the people of Sabr will be recompensed. أَجْرَهُمْ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. Same thing here. بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. What's the hisab? What's the recompense? What's the reward for Sabr? بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. What does that look like? We don't know. It's unlimited. It's everlasting. In Surah Shura, ayah number 43, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَلَمَنْ صَبَرَ وَغَفَرَ إِنَّ ذَلِكَ لَمِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. Those people who are patient and overlook and pardon, that is surely the solution. That is the determining factor. And then we have in Surah Al-Baqarah again, ayah number 153, اسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الصَّابِرِينَ. And again, if we were to dissect it, there will be a number of benefits, but the point here, إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الصَّابِرِينَ. And here, what this basically means, the Shaykh is saying here, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is promising, number one, to be with the people of Sabr. And Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah affirm this in a way that befits His Majesty. And also Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we say that when we have al-Ma'iyah, meaning Ma'ah, meaning Allah is with, it means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with all of His creation. A person will say, well, in Allah ma'a sabirin, is Allah with everyone at all times? We'll say yes. But this ma'iyah is a special one. Therefore, we have a special togetherness and a general togetherness. Inna Allah ma'a sabirin. And with this, the Shaykh also says from this ayah, is a call to be patient, but with that patience, you will get the success. As we have in a hadith, another hadith of the Messenger of Allah, Inna nasr ma as-Subr. Surely victory and relief is with you being patient. If you are not patient, then there is no victory. Hence, Inna Allah ma as-Sabirin, Allah will be with those who are patient. If they are not patient, Allah will not be with them. Then He will not have the desired outcome. And then the last ayah the Shaykh gives us is from Surah Muhammad, ayah number 31. وَنَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ حَتَّى نَعْلَمَ الْمُجَاهِدِينَ مِنْكُمْ وَالصَّابِرِينَ. Now this comes within the context of the munafiqun. And the munafiqun constantly contest the qadr of Allah. Why is it like this? Why is it like that? Why did this happen to me? Why? Constant why and how. In this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَنَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ, surely you will be tested حَتَّى نَعْلَمَ الْمُجَاهِدِينَ مِنْكُمْ, until we know who are those who are remaining steadfast. وَالصَّابِرِينَ. And again, the Shaykh says this is a special sabr that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has and facilitates for the people of Iman, unlike, as we see within the context that we just mentioned a minute ago, that is not granted to the people of Nifaq. Therefore, a criterion between Iman and Nifaq, as we see from this ayah, is Mujahada and Al-Musabara. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us of the people of Iman and Sabr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us of those who hear and follow in the best possible way. Allahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.